WrestlingInc.com brings you Two-Faced Wrestling Talk, the podcast that goes beyond WWE and goes in depth on NJPW, AEW, ROH, PWG, and more. Also featuring fun pop culture and wrestling crossovers, listener Q&As, and extended discussions about wrestling topics past, present, and future. Now, here's your host, Kelsi.
Hi, and welcome to Two-Faced Wrestling Talk. I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Paul.
And we're actually recording like in daytime, so that's if you're watching on YouTube, that's why there's so much of a glare, because there's so much sunlight coming through the window. But we are ready to go to a big weekend of wrestling. I hope you've got a seat cushion ready, plenty of beers, because there's going to
fall asleep.
There's going to be a lot of wrestling this weekend.
Yeah, lots of beers.
3 G1 shows, NXT, SummerSlam, Ring of Honor Summer Supercard.
I thought you were going to say, get ready for a baseball game, because we're going to one. Well, you started with a B, big weekend. No. I thought you were going to say the baseball game, which we're going to later tonight.
Yes.
Baby Cakes.
Yes. The final season of the New Orleans Baby Cakes.
Yeah.
Haven't been to a game in 2 years. Figured I ought to see them before they leave town.
Gosh, I haven't been to a game in like 5 or 6, maybe even longer amount of years.
Back when they were the Zephyrs, before they became the Baby Cakes.
So we're going to eat really bad after this podcast is over. So we have to
get
through the podcast, exercise, time for a beer, and awesome, terrible food.
Yes.
Like nachos with the crappy cheese. That's my fave.
Yes, it is.
But if you want to travel, not to a baseball game, but to a wrestling event, check out our friends at Wrestling Travel. You could find them at wrestlingtravel.org online. And if you have questions about their wrestling travel packages, just shoot them a DM on Twitter. Again, that's at Wrestling Travel. Or click on the Contact Us tab on their website. And really, they've got some amazing travel packages available to all kinds of events, including All Out, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania too. They've got really great packages for that. And also for New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom, it's going to be a 2-night event this year. And the trip is more than just those 2 nights. It's a whole thing. You're going to get guided tours from Fat Ass Masa, from Being the Elite. So many cool things involved in this package. You'll have a tour of Japan, and you'll be with like-minded wrestling fans that you can hang with.
And then, of course, WrestleMania down the road in Tampa, which obviously will be a fun trip. And who knows, you could, I guess, in theory, go off to a baseball game. You said no, baseball games aren't part of the trip, but you could go to a minor league baseball game or a Rays game.
They like baseball in Japan, too. Maybe you could find it there.
There you
go.
I
just don't know if it's going on around that time of year,
I don't know when the Japanese baseball season is. I don't know if it's the same as the United States. That's a good question. I don't know.
Kevin Kelly has talked about how he's gone to baseball games in Japan, so I know they have it there.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard him talk about it, yeah.
It's huge. It's like the second biggest league in the world behind the United States.
I can't believe that. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Legendary players from Japan have come.
Really? Who? Do you know?
Well, I mean, Dice K pitched for the Red Sox when they won the World Series. He was really well known. And, of course, the greatest probably Japanese player to play in the United States was Ichiro Suzuki, who just recently retired.
Not our Suzuki.
Not
different
our Suzuki. But that's a good segue into a discussion we're going to have later in the show as we embark here on our 50th episode here on Wrestling Inc. We're going to rank our 50 favorite, keyword, favorite male singles wrestlers, and Suzuki is sure to be on both of our lists.
Yep, we'll have to see where he ranks later.
Very high on the list for both of us, for sure. And speaking of the G1, or speaking of New Japan, let's turn our attention to the G1. It's time for all the latest wrestling news, opinions, and thoughts. It's time for headlines. And we are going to turn our attention to this weekend in the G1. We finally have the finish line in sight with the finals coming early Monday morning, Sunday night, wherever you are. But still a lot to be determined before we even get to the finals. The A block is real simple. And it's kind of what we thought it would be. Okada versus Ibushi. The winner will win the A block.
That should be an interesting match. Of course, I'm rooting for Okada, although, like, that's less exciting to root for him. Although I know if he does win, whoever he faces in the finals, it'll be flippin' awesome. Now, I know you love Ibushi a lot more than me, so I know you're probably rooting for Ibushi. That's fine. I know most of you listening are probably going to root for Ibushi. That's cool. I really like Ibushi as a wrestler in terms of, like, wrestling ability, but his personality is, like, not up my alley at all. So that's why I'm not rooting for him to win in this match. Although it would be kind of exciting for him to win. And it kind of would bring things full circle. And yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'm okay with whatever happens.
I am too.
block.
And I should stress also, Okada, if it does go to a time limit draw, would go through because each would get a point and he'd still win by 2 points. It is interesting. Do you want Okada, who's already the champion, to make history and go through and win the G1 for the first time? That a champion will have won the G1 since 2000, I believe? Or do we want to see Ibushi, who was in the finals last year before losing to Tanahashi?
And it was a very big surprise that he did lose. Like
Yes.
you said, we were expecting that it would definitely be him. So when Tanahashi turned around, not that Tanahashi isn't a valid contender, it's just that the way they were pushing Ibushi, we really thought it was his time last year. And we thought the time for Tana had passed by. But actually, the funny thing is, I feel like Tanahashi looks a lot better this year, in this year's G1. Although in the finals, I will say, he was amazing of last year's finals. He looked great. But for most of the tournament last year, I thought he kind of looked like he was hurting. Like he needed some time to recover. His body was just so banged up. The finals, he was great. This year, I think overall his performance has been better. But yeah, we thought Ibushi would win last year for sure.
As you look at the A block, the disappointing number for me is Lance Archer with 4 because he started so great and he's had such a great tournament. I get why he probably doesn't have more wins and more points because it's his first foray into the singles in a while. So I get that, but I don't think the 4 points is reflective of how good a tournament he's had.
I feel like he's had some of the best performances, and as I said last week, I feel like him being involved in the tournament has really elevated him because of these great performances he's had in this prestigious tournament. So I think regardless of his low point value, it sucks in a way, but in another way, it really doesn't matter because he's gotten more over just from being in this tournament, regardless of only having 4 points.
Sonata and Kenta and Tanahashi and Evil all at 8 points. None of them can win the block, but Sonata,
standout,
a good bounce back after a slow start.
Yeah, Sonata really picked up towards the end and getting a huge win over Okada. That was a big deal, you know. And you liked the way it ended a lot.
Yeah, no, it was a great match, and I love that Sonata won it with I guess it was like 12 seconds left or something. So it was really exciting and good for Sonata and good that he'll get a title shot down the road. But you wanted to add?
Another standout performer, of course, for me, Will Ospreay.
Of course.
I mean, yeah, it's disappointing he's not higher in point value again, just like Lance Archer, but it doesn't matter. Everyone really respects him for the matches he's had, not only in this tournament, but 2 other tournaments this calendar year before this. So taking all that into account, wow, what a year. To me, he might be the wrestling MVP of all of wrestling.
Meanwhile, the B block is Chaos, and pun intended a little there, because 2 members of Chaos, Yano and Ishii, both still very much alive. It is there's four wrestlers that don't have a chance, basically: Juice Robinson, Jeff Cobb, Tai Chi, and Shingo. But I know what you're going to get to, but I will say that everybody else is still alive. But yeah, Juice is out.
Yes, and this brings us to our verbal correction. Last week, in our notes, we marked that Juice had beaten Naito. That was incorrect. He did not beat him, and honestly, all the G1 matches sometimes blend together for us. Our notes are our only thing that keeps us tethered to reality, to remember anything that happened. So we didn't have any notes about the specific finish. We had Juice circled as the winner, and we thought our notes were correct. So we apologized. Juice did not beat Naito, and I had said, Juice beat Naito. He's not a B+ player if he's beaten Naito, but I still don't think he's a B+ player even though he lost to Naito. I still think he's an A player.
Which we'll see where you have Juice ranked in your ratings. I will say, look, we were wrong. We strive to be factually correct, but we're not the NBC Nightly News. We don't need corrections and all that stuff. You know, Yes, we made a mistake, but it's, again, we're not reporting on congressional hearings or something, so.
It is a bummer sometimes when you see someone point out a mistake and, like, there's no other positive, positive comments about the show.
I know.
It's like, that sucks.
So
because we talked about a lot of great stuff last week besides that one little mistake.
So let's talk about the B block. Jon Moxley, Jay White, Goto, and Naito are all at 10. Yano and Ishii are at 8 as we head into the B block finals, the B block finals on Sunday morning, Saturday night. And Moxley's going to go against Juice, which ought to be a great rematch of their U.S. title match.
Yeah, it really should be a great match. I'm really excited about it. And I honestly think that Juice might actually get his revenge here. I don't know.
Could be.
I really think that could happen. And that could be like the cherry on top of, because even though he's like kind of dead in the tournament, I feel like it'd be the cherry on top of the performance, kind of like a redemption coming full circle after his terrible performance in the G1 last year. But, how would that work out? I mean, that would basically knock Moxley out.
It would.
So, but I think that could happen. I'm guessing that's going to be the main event. I mean...
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Although I think Jay White's match could probably be
probably
the
Jay
main
White and Naito
event as well. I think either way you could have it be the main event, because I think why Moxley Juice is so important is because it's a rematch. Their first one had so much animosity, and it does have a lot of meaning, and Moxley has been so dominant. However, because there's all those 10s tied, you could argue, it's just as important though with Jay White and Naito, who are both at 10. But I don't know. It should be interesting regardless who main events, because those are the two matches I'm looking forward to really quite a bit.
Ishii's still alive. He goes against Taichi, who's had actually a pretty good tournament. Yanu going against Jeff Cobb. Yanu's still alive.
Come on, Yanu. I love Cobb, but I want Yanu to win.
Goto going against Shingo. Shingo is out, but Goto at 10 points still has a chance. And then, as we mentioned, Jay White going against Naito. Both of them at 10 points going into this weekend. So
finals on August 12th.
Who comes out on the B block?
I don't know. I hate predictions.
All right, let me put it this way. That's okay. You hate predictions. Let's put it another way then. What do you think is the best scenario for New Japan? Like, what would you like to see, and what do you think is the best result of who wins each block and who wins the tournament going forward? If you were the booker, what do you think is the best scenario?
Geez, I'm no Gato, but I'll try. Oh, gosh. Honestly, I want to see Naito win the B block, and I'm fine with Okada winning the A block, but I think it could be Ibushi, and then you've got that, because they've had feud already, Ibushi and Naito. That would be your finals. It would have a lot of meaning, and I could see Ibushi winning. That would be great for the company. I think they do see him as a future star for the company. I do think that main event of Wrestle Kingdom would draw Ibushi versus Okada. However, I really want to see Naito get his time. I really want to see Naito get his ultimate big win and his main event, his true main event of Wrestle Kingdom. Because if you remember, when he had that match with Jericho, they weren't the true main event. They were like the co-main event. He's just never had that pedestal top spot. So to me, I would love in a dream scenario for it to be Naito, but I have a feeling it's probably Ibushi.
Yeah, I mean, Naito and Ibushi would make for a great final. And I think either guy would be deserving of going on to Wrestle Kingdom. So I think that is probably your best case big name scenario. I don't think they're going to put Moxley through. I
don't think so either.
So then to me, the only other one is Jay White. Could it be Jay White and Ibushi?
I would love if it was Jay White as well. That is a good point there, because he didn't get it last year.
Right.
It would be the ultimate revenge, and then he needs kind of like a bump up because he had been losing so much after losing the IWGP heavyweight title. So I do think that would really benefit him. And he's also seen as a future star. It's pretty evident.
Well, and it would be the ultimate dichotomy, right? He got off to this great start last year, didn't get to the finals. This year he gets off to the horrible start, told everybody he's going to win 6 in a row.
And
if he got to the final,
it would be great.
It would be cool. You know who wouldn't be happy about that?
Rocky Romero, yes.
The thing this week where Jay White goes to hug Rocky, or was that last week? I don't remember.
Last week, I think.
Where he's like, "Come give me a hug, Rocky."
That was so funny. But I forgot about Jay White. How I forgot in like 2 seconds of just talking about him, I don't know. But that is a great possibility, and I'd love to see it. I do think, as I just said a minute ago, the company obviously sees White as a future pillar for the whole company, I believe.
Yeah.
Just like Ibushi. So I think either of them could win the whole thing.
And his heel work is so great.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, having Gato there.
It's awesome. And plus, it'd be a cool dichotomy between Ibushi. Ibushi, to me, doesn't have as much personality. Jay White oozes personality, so that'd be kind of like a great yin and yang.
And I can't wait to see the other matches that they put together for Monday morning at the Budokan. It's going to be a great card as we wrap up the G1. Well, let's turn our attention to AEW, where Jon Moxley also resides, and they announced 2 more cities for the shows 2 and 3 on TNT.
Yeah, and I think they were great decisions. Boston and Philly, wrestling towns. You can't really go wrong there. Of course they're going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't like some monumental decision. It's not like they picked Paducah, Kentucky, and took a big risk. They went to, and no shot at Paducah, but I mean, Philadelphia and Boston are kind of like no-brainers. You want to get momentum, you want to be in wrestling towns to get that momentum going. Then you go to smaller towns, and that's how it's going to go. So, good decision. Very good decision, and I'm excited about that announcement. I think those shows should sell out easily, for sure. More news coming out of AEW. We've got some participants announced for the Casino Battle Royal, the buy-in for All Out, including Teal Piper, which is Roddy Piper's daughter, as well as, I'm really excited, she's back, or as she said, the bee is back, but the non-censored version, she said. Jazz! I'm super pumped to see her back. Of course, a few months ago, maybe even longer than just a few months, she relinquished the NWA women's title because she had some health issues. So now she's back, and in the awesome video where they showed her announcing that she'll be in the Battle Royal, she took off her mask and she's bald. So I wonder if she was dealing with some serious illness, like maybe cancer, or maybe she just wanted to look more menacing. I don't know, but I'm glad she's back, no matter what. And I do think it's kind of interesting. We'll talk later about NWA's announcement, but it's interesting that she's choosing to work with AEW and not going straight back to NWA. We'll talk more about NWA later. Yep, in just a couple of minutes. A couple other people from AEW with some newsworthy announcements. Moxley is going to go against Pentagon on August 16th in Northeast Wrestling. You can see it on High Spots. That's going to be a fantastic match. Yeah, I can't wait. I definitely want to watch that match, don't you? Well, it'll be kind of reminiscent of Pentagon's battles with Sami Callihan, the crazy dude against... Violent, yeah. I don't think there'll be railroad spikes, probably driven into Moxley's or Pentagon's head. You never know with Moxley, though. That's true, but man, that Sami Callihan set of matches, amazing. Oh, I remember those. Also, Chris Jericho podcast, you had a couple of things you wanted to talk about him. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a few of the recent Talk is Jericho episodes. They've been really great recently. Of course, we mentioned last week Joey Ryan was on, and he had a great interview with Jericho. Lots of awesome insight. He talked a lot about PWG, talked about his whole philosophy on wrestling, talked about his documentary, which, man, I can't wait to see that documentary, This Is Wrestling. Actually, some of the producers and filmmakers who worked on it worked with my coworker. They worked together on Bar Rescue. It's pretty funny. I was just talking to him the other day. Dave Landry's his name. So that's kind of funny. Small world in the production biz sometimes. Well, anyway, hopefully we could see that documentary quite soon. Then Jericho had on David Arquette. Great interview. They talked about him trying to change people's opinions of him after the whole WCW stuff. Him trying to rectify that he's not just in it just cause. He loves wrestling. And that really came across in the interview. I will say, Arquette, his memory wasn't very sharp in this interview. He kept saying, I don't really remember how they told me about, I would win the championship. It was all kind of very non-specific. That's what he was saying. So I would have liked a little more specifics, but I still enjoyed the interview overall. Check out that episode. And then finally, they had on the director,
Tommy Avalon of the Bill Murray documentary that we just watched. And it was fascinating because you might be thinking, well, what does Bill Murray and the documentary about Bill Murray have to do with wrestling? Well, a lot actually, because the filmmaker has a lot of ties to wrestling. He's a big wrestling fan. And if you look back throughout his documentary career, he's included wrestlers in almost all of his documentaries, including the very first one, I Am Santa Claus. That stars Mick Foley, because Mick Foley's super into Santa and he wanted to be a Santa. And then a whole bunch of other people who basically lived their life as Santa. They were full-time Santas, essentially. That's a great documentary. He also produced and edited Ghost Heads, which are about super really, really in-depth, hardcore Ghostbusters fans. And in that documentary, that featured Zack Ryder and a whole bunch of other really big Ghostbuster fans. And then finally this Bill Murray movie, which really doesn't on the surface have to do with wrestling, but he did interview George the Animal Steele, and he actually worked with Bill Murray in a movie and had a lot of stories about that. That's not included in the documentary, but Tommy Avalon talked about it on Talk is Jericho, and he talked about a future project he's trying to start up about Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler, and everything behind the scenes about that, which is great. And I'm sure it's going to be different, because if you saw Jim and Andy, which is the movie about Jim Carrey portraying Andy Kaufman, there's a lot of crazy footage between Jerry Lawler and Jim Carrey, who is like in character as Andy Kaufman. This will go into more of the actual real feud between the real Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. So it'll be a lot of info that no one knew about before. So I'm looking forward to Tommy's new stuff, and check out the interview with Avalon. It's really, really good on Talk is Jericho. I have to say it was awesome because I love Bill Murray. So it was great to hear about, the making of the movie and how much everyone likes Bill Murray. Chris Jericho had some Bill Murray stories. So if you want to hear about that, check out the podcast. And if only I had a Bill Murray story. It's like my number one dream in life. I don't care. I've met tons of great wrestlers, and it's been great. But I'd give it all up if I could tomorrow run into Bill Murray. Or if he could come to my Halloween party. I don't care. Like, he likes to crash parties. Please come crash my Halloween party. You're my favorite actor of all time, and it's for, the last 20 years I've wanted to meet him. I've lived by his mantra from Meatballs, it just doesn't matter. And they talked about that in the documentary, and Jericho talked about it just doesn't matter, the philosophy. So check all that out. And Bill Murray, if you're out there, please come crash my party. My Halloween party next year. Saturday night. Not this year.
I was going to say, emphasize that it's not this Halloween.
No, it's next Halloween. My dad and I were plotting that it'll be on Halloween. Huge blowout, every inch of the house decorated from floor to ceiling.
It's insanity.
It is insanity. I mean, we spend 9 months decorating, usually.
Speaking of insanity, like that segue,
yeah.
NWA has decided to split from Ring of Honor. We talked about that last week, and I am a little concerned about their future and how they're going to carve out a niche. They've got the brand name, and now they've got a decision they've made on TV.
Yeah, I'm a little mixed on this. I want them to succeed, but it does seem like a lot very soon, especially with AEW on the horizon, literally on the same timetable as them. So they're going to be aiming to launch TV tapings in September, October. That's nuts to me. That's right around the corner. I mean, and they just made this announcement today. We're in August already. So it's like, wow. And their roster, I know a few people, obviously Nick Aldis being at the very helm, and Eli Drake, as we talked about last week, but how deep is their roster going to be to do a whole show on their own? And to quote what the press release said and what the video said, I call it a press release because it was like Billy Corgan announcing this, he says, the goal is to bring the NWA back into the spotlight, run on its own oxygen. And they did thank Ring of Honor. It was awesome to be on their stage and to share the spotlight with them. But, Corgan emphasized going out on their own. It's a hefty goal right now with all this stuff happening in wrestling. And he did say it's the most exciting time in wrestling right now since the 70s.
It is. But, man.
But a lot of competition, too.
Yeah, I mean, you've got New Japan, WWE, AEW. Ring of Honor, even Impact is probably ahead of the game right now. So, I mean, right now you're trying to carve out a niche, starting out in 6th place at best.
And before, they didn't have any trouble working with other promotions because they didn't have TV. Will TV be a hindrance for them when they're trying to have matches with other companies? So will they have to sign people to exclusive deals?
I don't know.
to get them to work on NWA TV. That's insane, because if so, there's already so many people signed away to other promotions.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I hope they're successful. We want that promotion to do well, but it's going to be quite the test for them.
Yeah.
And of course, the promotion they used to work with, Ring of Honor, has a big show this weekend. It's called Summer Supercard, and there's some good matches I'm definitely looking forward to. I know the one you're most looking forward to, and so am I.
Yeah, I mean, come on, the ladder match. How can you go wrong? Two of the most violent and really hardcore tag teams out there right now. God versus the Briscoes. And the ladder war match, like, those are typically so insane. Like, more than like a TLC match in WWE. It's like another level. It's really, really violent. If you guys remember, like, one of my favorite matches of all time is the ladder war match, and it was like Christopher Daniels and Kaz versus the Bucks versus Motor City Machine Guns, and it was so bloody and violent, it was insane. It's one of my favorite matches of all time, and it was a ladder war match. This one, I think, will live up to the hype, because the guys involved are nuts, and they're just violent and crazy, and they curse all over the place. I mean, how much are they gonna curse? I keep saying that every time they meet up, but I think this might be the most crazy of all the matches.
It should be. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Other good matches, Shane Taylor versus Tracy Williams, I think should be good.
Taven versus Shelley should be great.
Yep. Roosh versus Dalton Castle, no DQ. I'm a little intrigued by that one.
I'm super intrigued with Villain Enterprises versus The Kingdom. I think that should be a wonderful match.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. The next big Ring of Honor show, Summer Supercard. Let's turn our attention to WWE. And before we look ahead to this weekend, a couple of talking points on TV. Trish Stratus is going to be in SummerSlam, but I find it curious that she didn't participate. She was in a tag team match on Monday, didn't participate, came face to face with Charlotte Flair, but didn't really have any sort of physicality. So I'm curious if they're saving Trish Stratus or if they're worried about Trish Stratus.
I don't think they're worried. They're probably saving her. However, I do think that Mickie James carried her in the last match she was in. I believe it was Mickie James, if I'm remembering her past match. All I know is, unless it was a different person, but all I remember is Mickie James carried one of the women legends in a match. I think it was Trish. And Mickie James is amazing. She's out right now. Just had surgery not that long ago, hoping for her a speedy recovery. But I'm not liking this Trish angle. I mean, I know people are excited. They're like, oh, I never thought I would see Trish wrestle again or ever, for newer fans, you know? But to me, it's like, let the past be in the past. I'm sick of all these callbacks. Although it's an interesting opponent for Charlotte in terms of she could cement herself as the greatest woman ever if she does win. If she doesn't win, I think it's a atrocious mistake.
Well, yeah, I would say, you know, in both cases, with Goldberg coming back against Ziggler and Trish against Charlotte, you've got to have the new talent win. They can both the legends can have great parts in their matches. You know, hopefully Trish does a lot of the great stuff she did, but in the end, if Charlotte doesn't win the match, it's a huge mistake.
Huge mistake. And, you know, Charlotte's been carrying the feud in terms of, like, her mic ability.
Yeah.
I mean, just her talking has really, to me, sold the whole thing. Trish has been talking back, but it's more forced and scripted feeling, whereas Charlotte's so natural. It seems believable to me what she says. I never question, oh, this is written down, she's memorized this. She's so great at talking.
She really is.
We've said that in the past, but I'm looking forward to just her pompous acting when she's going into the ring and stuff. It's going to be great.
I will say both Raw and SmackDown felt a little better as far as week of pay-per-view shows. There were some good matches and some significant matches. A match that you wouldn't put on SummerSlam necessarily, although, you know, it is a title match, but the women's tag team matches, hey, they were back on TV, which, you know, it's been a while, and the Iconics drop. Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss are the new women's tag team champs.
I'm glad that Nikki Cross gets a chance to shine.
Yep.
However, you know, the whole friendship angle has been weird to me. A lot of people like it.
There'll be a turning at some point.
Of course, there will be a turning. And I think that's what's going to make everything worth it. So that's going to make this whole weird relationship pay off in the end. I mean, I'm just waiting for that payoff. I mean, who knows when it could be.
It's so funny thinking about, as I watch this match and, you know, you think about the women's division, it's all I mean, 95% of the division is NXT people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, other than Natalya, really, and I think one or two others, it's all, you know, the groundswell that was created in NXT has created the main roster of women in WWE. Now, I mentioned it a minute ago. Goldberg going to go against Dolph Ziggler. I think the surprise would have been kind of cool had I already not seen a million rumors that it was going to be Goldberg.
Yeah.
Because they tried to do a good swerve of the contract signing, and then Miz is like, no, you're going to meet me on Raw.
Yeah.
You know, but you're facing Goldberg. It would have been better, obviously, if I didn't know it was coming.
Yeah. I just, again, I feel like they're over-relying on legends, and Goldberg just had that terrible interaction match with The Undertaker. So to me, it's like, he already had a perfect send-off. Why do they keep just beating a dead horse? You know, and I feel like they just had the Raw reunion, which was filled with nostalgia, and it's like they're just playing up on that over and over again. And I know they're trying to look for that ratings jolt that gave them. They're trying to repeat that by kind of infusing these legends into current stuff.
Right.
I just don't know if it works, honestly.
We'll see, for sure.
Definitely, I don't think it turns viewers, like, out of tune viewers in for an extended period.
No.
I think, if anything, they might come in, watch that match, and then tune out again. So it's not really adding anything in the long term, in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. One other thing I wanted to mention from TV before we switch to the weekend, I think Kevin Owens must be watching or listening to our podcast, because he almost word for word said what I said, I believe, last week on the match with him and Shane McMahon. He said to Shane, hey, if I've got to quit, why don't you have to quit? That's what the WWE Universe wants. And that's what I said last week.
That is what you said. I wish he listened to our podcast. That'd be so freaking cool. But that's ridiculous. No way. A girl can dream, though. Another thing you predicted, but the people at home don't know.
No.
You said to me, literally last week, off camera, of course, and off the podcast, we weren't recording, you said, man, whatever happened to the Raw opening? Like, they used to have an actual open. Now it just kind of, like, starts.
Right.
And then, lo and behold, it's such a weird week to do it, but they revealed the new open.
That was weird.
Yeah, right after the shooting tribute where they were all doing the bell salute, then all of a sudden they cut to the open.
Yeah.
It's like, of all weeks, you could have waited one more week and done it like next week. Also, it's not the start of a season, as you said.
Right.
It's just kind of randomly in the middle of their season, technically, even though the season never technically ends.
No, I know, but the TV season. No, I said it, we were watching TV, and I was like, you know, we always talk about the pyro going away. What happened to the opens? And sure enough, the following week, Raw had an open. SmackDown did not, but I think they will when they go to Fox in a few weeks.
I think they'll have to when they go to Fox, for sure. And then let's move on to the weekend now, looking ahead to NXT TakeOver, of course. I know you're pumped about it.
I'm always pumped about NXT TakeOvers. They're all freaking awesome.
They're all right.
They're always good.
They're pretty good.
They're always good. I'm not sure about another 2 out of 3 falls match between Gargano and Cole, but at least they're shaking it up with each guy getting a stipulation, and if the third
Each fall gets a stipulation, yeah.
If the third fall happens, William Regal gets to decide it, which obviously we know that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, because why would that even exist
Right.
in the notes if it wasn't going to be happening? But, you know, I've said before why I don't like 2 out of 3 falls match. I feel like it's so predictable. But rarely they go off script and they do something where it's like, you know, someone gets all 3 falls in a row, or there's, you know, I mean, all 2 falls in a row.
Right.
But other times it's like 1-1, and then this final one is the deciding factor, which that's why I don't like them. It's like, you might as well have just had a normal match. But this breaks it up, I think, a little bit from their previous matches, because it feels like they've met a lot recently. So this gives it some flair, as you said, and that's why it should be pretty good. Another match I'm really looking forward to is the triple threat for the North American Championship.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really good. I mean, it's obviously disappointing no Matt Riddle or Keith Lee on this show.
Yeah, good point there.
But that's going to be great. Got 2 women's matches, including seeing Candice LeRae finally on a TakeOver, not just on a run-in, but actually wrestling, which will be awesome against Io.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I think she even tweeted TakeOver, because, you know, finally she's going to be on a show,
Yes.
and not just, like, running in and doing something at the end, an actual match. Can't wait. Funny enough, so Matt Riddle's not on the card, but he did tweet out that he'll be at TakeOver and he'll be at SummerSlam. So he's like, watch out, bro, to Brock Lesnar, to Goldberg, because he's internet feuding with everybody.
Right.
He's kind of gotten under the skin of Chris Jericho recently. Jericho was like, watch your mouth, kid, or something. I can't remember the exact words, but Matt Riddle responded with just this funny look and said that he was going to beat the crap out of Chris Jericho. He said that in a video. And then Jericho made fun of, like, his look and, like, did this cross-eyed thing. And
right.
So back and forth, they're going back and forth. Apparently Riddle's got heat with Booker T as well, Lance Storm, all kinds of people. And he totally went off on them in a video where he was saying, like, Lance Storm, you know, stop trying to tell people how to be entertaining. You never were. Oh, like, it was crazy. I loved it.
He's got a point.
I mean, Lance Storm is a great wrestler,
He is.
but I do think Riddle...
He bored the hell out of me.
Riddle has more of a persona,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
than Lance Storm. So he had... I love Lance Storm, okay? He had a small valid point, though, Riddle, about the entertainment value thing. I just think it's funny, the whole, you know, Twitter beef with everybody. It's great. And like, people were saying, you know, imagine social media back in the Monday Night Wars era. We're going to kind of get that now with AEW
Yeah.
and WWE guys. A little bit, maybe.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And, of course, you got a tag team championship match and the women's match as well. And then on Sunday, one of the big shows of the year, SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, again, a rematch from WrestleMania. I am curious to see what direction they go with this one. I think Seth is going to win and retain, but I don't know. It really could go either way.
People will hate me for saying this, but I'd love Brock Lesnar just to beat him. I'm over Seth Rollins right now. I'm sorry. Over him.
WWE Championship, Kofi versus Randy Orton.
It's got to be Kofi.
Yeah, and they had a great feud, as they've alluded to. There was a great video piece this week on SmackDown from Kofi. I'm looking forward to this one a lot. Good to see Randy Orton in the title picture. 2 women's championship matches.
I'm looking forward to the Natalya match.
Yeah.
You know how much I love Natalya. I don't think she's going to win, but I love when she gets elevated, when she gets a spotlight. Because to me, she's behind Charlotte. She's probably my favorite women's wrestler.
And she's kind of turned a nice heelish thing, but she's going to get, obviously, the great reception in Canada.
Of course.
And Ember Moon getting a chance for her first main title roster championship.
It's good to see that, too. She's amazing. In terms of athleticism, she's awesome.
I'm probably most looking forward to, again, U.S. Championship, AJ Styles versus Ricochet, even though we've seen them go against each other before.
Honestly, I'm probably looking forward to that the most, too. Besides, I think it's almost tied. It's just above Kofi and Randy. I think that would be my second favorite match that I'm looking forward to.
And then we're going to get to see The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, make his debut against Finn Balor.
Some good Firefly... I can't say it. I can never say it. Some good Firefly Funhouse episodes recently. Liking that still.
Yep.
I really, really dig what's going on. How will it translate in the ring for an extended match? We'll have to see.
Yeah, and I hate to... You got to figure Bray's going to get over, but then again, it bothers me that Finn, as I've said in the past, never has gotten really... I mean, he got the Intercontinental title, but
it's always short.
Yeah.
It's short bursts instead of anything extended.
Ever since
in
he got
length.
hurt.
I know, but I don't think it's just that. I think WWE on the whole, it's about very short bursts of things for the most part. Except the exception lately, Kofi Kingston. That's been great to see him have an extended run. I like that quite a bit.
So, big weekend of wrestling, and we'll talk all about it next week. But when we come back, we're going to begin in celebration of our 50th episode on Wrestling Inc. We're going to discuss our top 50 favorite single male wrestlers, and in no particular order when we come back. It'll be 25 of those 50, and we'll see where we rank them.
Yep. Two-Face Wrestling Talk is proud to be sponsored by Wrestling Travel. Check them out on Twitter at Wrestling Travel. Also go to their website, wrestlingtravel.org, to find out about all the exciting travel packages, including a travel package to All Out, which includes 4 nights hotel stay, StarCast Platinum Bracelet, and a lower bowl ticket across from the hard cam. They also have a very fun Wrestle Kingdom travel package, which includes round-trip airfare, 5-night hotel near the Tokyo Dome, lower bowl tickets to both days of Wrestle Kingdom, and guided tours by Being the Elite's fat-ass Masa. Come on, who wouldn't want to hang out with Masa? I think that's like the coolest thing they offer. You get to have some time with him, meet him, interact with him. He'll literally be hanging with you. And you'd get to be a part of the first 2-day Wrestle Kingdom, which is going to be really special in my opinion. They also have travel packages to WWE events, including WrestleMania 36, which you can sign up for information at WrestlingTravel.org. And they've got packages to the Royal Rumble as well, plus other events too. Check out their website. There are USA travel packages, but also UK travel packages. So whether you live in the UK or where we live in the United States, you can find something for you. Also, don't forget they've got a friendly staff that can help you out. DM them on Twitter or contact them through their website.
Thanks, Wrestling Travel.
Our Two-Faced Wrestling Talk logo was inspired by Two-Face, the Batman animated series character, and his coin. The logo was designed by the talented and creative artist Eric Hudson. Eric creates wrestling-themed pieces as well as other pop culture art. He is also currently working on a Roddy Piper comic book. You can follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dreaded Dinosaur. You can also support his work by becoming a patron at patreon.com/dreadeddinosaur. Please check out his work.
And now back to Two-Face Wrestling Talk.
So again, we're going to be ranking 25 of our 50 favorite wrestlers. We just picked 25 of the 50 list randomly, and we're each going to give our ranking number, and we'll talk a little bit about why they're on the list, etc., etc. And this is all in honor of our 50th episode, which is this episode on Wrestling Inc.
And we came up with a list, together, where we put a list of 50 and then kind of whittled it down because we had 38, I think, common, and then we had to kind of compromise on whose people would end up on the list. And again, favorites is the key word here, not best wrestler. Also, somebody asked, nobody from the past. This is current wrestlers only. And we're also going to elicit from you guys next week on Twitter. We want to hear your top 5 favorite male wrestlers, and we'll read some of those answers next week.
Yep, and I can't wait to read some of you guys' opinions. Always have great things to say. And who knows, your list might be drastically different than our top 5s. We'll have to see. Okay, so let's get right into it.
All right, random top 20 or top 25 wrestlers, the top half of the list, and we're going to debate our rankings.
Yes.
All right.
Starting off with Ibushi. Where do you got him ranked?
I put him at 6.
Oh my god. Okay.
But I'm a huge fan.
I can't believe he's 6 for you. He's 46 for me.
Oh my god. 46? Are you insane?
No.
Oh my god. Well, at least you're consistent because you badmouth him all the time anyway.
Yeah, but he's not 50.
Yeah, well.
And he's over some people that I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I was surprised some people that actually were closer to 50 than him. I put him at 46 because I like him. I like his wrestling, but his personality is just not for me.
All right.
To me, it's just bland. Whatever.
Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega is number 4 for me. So he's much higher than Ibushi.
I actually have him higher than you. I've got him at 3.
What?
I know.
Wow. That's surprising.
Speedball Mike Bailey.
Number 31 for me. So he didn't make the top 25. I like him a lot. I think he's underrated. He's a great flyer. He reminds me a lot of Will Ospreay in terms of he could do a lot of aerial stuff. But a lot of people don't know who he is. But he had to make my list. I love him.
And that's why I made him number 50.
Oh, cool.
Because I do like what I've seen from him, but it's been so little. I've literally seen 4 Speedball Mike Bailey matches. So I have not seen enough of him to... Like, he would not have been on my top 50 list, but he was one of the ones I conceded for you to be on the list. So
there's like 20 I conceded for you.
20? So. We had like 38 in agreement.
I had at least 15 I didn't want that you had.
You're an exaggerator.
Whatever.
MJF.
I wish I could have put him higher, but I had so many I wanted to put above him. 21. He did make the top 25, though.
You have him higher than me. Not by much. I had him at 25. I want to see more from the wrestling side, but to me, there is currently nobody better on the mic than MJF.
He's great. Like, if it was just about the mic, he would have been even higher.
He might be number 1.
I mean, yeah, he's incredible, and man, it's just the beginning. Imagine that. Like, in 5 years, he could be like the top heel in all of wrestling. That's how good I think he is.
I can't wait to see where you've got the next one, although I have a good idea. Seth Rollins.
50.
Yes.
I freaking hate him, and he wouldn't be on my list at all. That's the one I conceded for you. I was like, it wouldn't be in the ballpark.
I have him at 27.
God, that's sad.
And I will say something that you said I like him better when he's a heel.
Me too.
And so I don't like him as much right now. He probably would have been higher in the past for me. But
in the past, like his first title run,
yeah,
back when he was like all like smarmy and people were sick of him then, I loved him then. To me, he would have been definitely maybe 30 or 25 back then for me.
Beer City Bruiser.
Number 15.
All right.
He's ahead of a lot of people I know. People are like, oh my god, Ibushi's like 46, but she's got Beer City Bruiser at 15. I love Beer City Bruiser. I might be personally biased. He's been so nice to us, so kind. His wife is awesome. He's tag team partners with one of my favorite people, Brian Malonis, and him and his podcasting partner always support our podcast. So a lot of personal biases went into this, but I think he's a great wrestler for such a bigger guy. He deserves to be on the top 50.
And we mentioned last week Malonis, one of the honorable mentions that didn't make our list. I put Beer City Bruiser at 30. I've mentioned in the past, I've seen him in person, like when nobody really knew who he was at
Summerfest.
Brew City Wrestling. And so he was so great to us on the interview. He's very entertaining. He's super athletic, so made him 30.
At that Summerfest match at Brew City Wrestling, he really captured the random audience. Like, you don't have just wrestling fans there. It's a lot of random people going to see a wrestling show, essentially, because it's at a music festival. So he was in the main event, and to me, he got more attention and he got more eyes than anybody. He really captured the audience, even though they might not have all been wrestling fans. So to me, he definitely deserves to be on this list.
Okay.
Matt Riddle.
Where'd you put him?
Number 7. So he's in the top 10.
I have him at 28.
What?
For now.
That's sad. God, that's pathetic.
And by the way,
Ibushi's 6 and Riddle's 28.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. I love Matt Riddle, but come on.
No.
I will say, and we probably should have said this at the beginning, if I did this list again next week, the people would be bounced all over the place. Once I got through like my top 10 and my bottom 7 or 8, you could have made a hodgepodge of anywhere for a lot of these.
I gotta say, I already have changed mine like 3 times since we originally like made the list of 50. And also, if I were to make it tomorrow, not even next week, it would be different. I was tortured over some of
and I
these.
literally rushed to do my list.
I know.
Before we did the podcast. So.
Well, like Matt Riddle, like maybe it would have been higher on a different day. Like I probably could have had him in my top 5, but like I kept I was tortured over certain ones. I was like, I don't know. It was very hard. For someone who's like terrible at decision making, this is like torture. So
yeah, like I look at my list now and I see some people I probably could put him ahead of. So
yeah, like Matt Riddle, like maybe I should have put him like closer. You're thinking you technically could have put him closer to 1, like higher?
No, I'm saying I could have put him a lot higher than 28.
Like what do you mean, like closer to 30, or you mean closer down to 1?
No, like into the top 20 for sure. All right, the next one is one I kind of insisted on. You didn't have on the our mock list, but I just think because of his mic skills, and I think because of his talent, and I still feel like he's still just scratching the surface. I've got this is Kenny King, and I put him at 42.
I put him at 40. Wow, I had him above you. Like closer to 1, and you're the one who insisted him on the list. There's a lot of people you wanted on the list that I didn't want, so who are closer to 50 than him. I love Kenny King. I actually have respect for him. I really didn't want to put him in the bottom 10, but I had to put so many other people ahead of him. He's great on the mic, though. He's got a great personality, and we really had the pleasure of interviewing him. He was super nice to us. So
Brian Cage.
I couldn't put him in the last 10. I had to make sure he was out of the last 10. I put him at 39. So he's out of the 40 to 50 range because I wanted him to be closer to the lower levels. He's a great guy. He's actually been interacting with me on Twitter this week a lot. He's good friends with one of my friends, McGeeky Designs, and he was tagging him on some of my little questions like which horror movie table would you sit at on this popular table meme that is going around. And he was telling me about his favorite candies and his favorite horror movie. He likes Butterfinger BBs, which don't exist anymore, but that was kind of funny. So he's cool. 39. Where do you have him?
I actually have him at 23. But see, this is a perfect example. I think now I would have probably flip-flopped him with Matt Riddle and probably had Riddle a little higher. The only thing about Brian Cage is I wish there was a little more personality from him, but you can't beat the athleticism for such a big guy. And we don't get to see him because we don't see as much of Impact as we used to. So he is 23 right now. Aleister Black.
47.
I have him as 20.
Ugh.
He's actually one of the more entertaining wrestlers for me right now. Between his dark character, the vignettes they've been doing, and his actual wrestling, I enjoy him quite a bit.
I like his character and his theme song and everything. It's just, he's not in my top 25 at all.
Andrade.
49. Just behind Seth Rollins. I'm just like, great wrestler, but nothing else behind it.
I put him at 32. I think his wrestling has been phenomenal. His matches against Rey Mysterio are awesome. I think this is another guy just scratching the surface. I think they're smart having a valet with him because he doesn't speak that much English very well. So
it's just like, for me, the personality and wrestling go hand in hand. If you just have one or the other, that's why I rank these people higher. Like, Black for me has a personality, but I don't like his wrestling as much as some other people, so I put him higher. Same thing as Andrade, great wrestler, no personality to me, so I put him higher.
Well, as you know, to me, you can have one or the other and be one of my favorites because if you're a phenomenal wrestler, I love watching you. If you're really good on the mic, I really like you. But you got to have one of the two.
Of course. That was what makes a great wrestler, yeah.
Yano.
17.
Oh, my
He made my top 20.
Come on.
What? He's amazing.
Okay, but again...
He's so entertaining. I like personality.
It's your favorites. So yes, it's favorites. But I had...
He's amazing.
I had him at 49. Oh. However,
Evil!
I will say, some of the stuff he's done in the G1 has endeared him to me a lot more.
I love that Colt Cabana Yanu match, and so does Colt Cabana. It was one of his favorite matches.
Spoiler,
he's lower than Colt Cabana on my list, as in he's closer to 1.
Wow. Okay. Johnny Gargano.
48.
I have him at 36 just because he delivers great matches every time he's in the ring. So
again, great wrestler, but I need more.
Keith Lee.
12. And I wrestled with that. I'll tell you later.
I put him at 14, so we're pretty close there. Love him from PWG. Want to see more in NXT. He's due to be on a takeover here soon.
He's got to be. He's too good.
Yeah.
He's got a personality. He's a bigger guy, but he can move. That's why I put him so close to 1.
Ricochet.
43. I feel bad putting him so high, but I like Ospreay better in terms of personality and wrestling. I think he's a wonderful wrestler. The personality, it's okay.
I have him at 8.
We are so different.
Yep. That's what makes this podcast great, because I'm actually sensible.
Most people will like your list better than mine,
yeah.
I will say. I go for the people who are unique and awesome and whatever. Everyone likes Ricochet.
Yeah, well, for good reason, because he's phenomenal.
Yes, but there's a ton of great wrestlers. You got to have something other than that.
He's one of the 10 best.
He's all right.
Joey Janela.
He is one of the 10 best wrestlers, but we're talking about favorites, by the way.
Yes.
All right, so Joey Janela is 13. And I said a comment about the Keith Lee thing. So Keith Lee was 12, and Joey Janela was 13. The reason Keith Lee is over Joey Janela, I actually probably would have put Janela as 12. But I wanted Janela to be at 13. 13's a lucky number to me. It's a special number. So Joey Janela got 13 because it's a really special number to me, and I really love him. I just love his personality. I love his persona, and I like his wrestling. I mean, we saw the main event with Moxley. That was awesome. He's just nuts, insane. He'll take crazy risks. He's very surprising. I know you're thinking he's way too high, but I actually would have put him even higher. But again, he had to have 13.
I actually have him a little lower than probably I should. I kind of he's another one that I probably could have put a little higher, but I did put him at 40. I do like him a lot, but he reminds me of like X Games athletes in that he's just crazy, you know.
But he's got a personality,
though. Does have a personality.
Remember all that crazy stuff he was saying at that podcast?
But
God, he's so great.
I just kind of look at him as he's just, he doesn't care, I guess is the best way to put it, which is
But I like that.
Yeah, which is a good thing. But probably you asked me this list in 3 weeks, and he's probably in my top 30 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I'm also taking like social media presence and like outside of the ring presence into account too. Like, I love his tweets. Just he's so great, personality wise, even outside of the ring.
Tommaso Ciampa.
45.
So
So you wanted Ciampa on the list. I wouldn't have put him on my list, probably. You wanted Gargano, and all of them are like
Right.
40 to 50
Which makes
range
sense.
for me.
Which makes sense. I put him at 26 just because he's been on the shelf, is a phenomenal wrestler. Him and Gargano together were a phenomenal tag team, which I think eventually they've got to put them back together and promote them to the main roster as a tag team. But his heel work, his entrance when he came in, no music, the wave, just everything about him, his look, I just like him a lot.
His social media presence is great, and I do love his heel work. It's been some of the best heel work ever. But again, I just had to put some people I personally like better ahead of him.
Marty Scurll.
28, didn't even make the top 25. I played around with actually making him closer to 50 than that, like maybe 30, 35. I really struggled with where to put him over anybody else, honestly. Why? Because I love his personality. His wrestling's not my favorite. I love the finger snap. I love some things about him. I love his entrance a lot. I love his gear, but there's some things I don't like. Right now I feel like he's being sloppy. So his current performance, I feel like he's not giving it his all the time recently. I don't know, he's just lacking something for me right now, and that's why he's not in the top 25 even.
He's not even in my top 40. I put him at 45.
Yeah, I was thinking I made a mistake and should have put him closer to that even.
I love his entrance, obviously. I love his ring gear. I love his personality, and I probably could have put him a little higher. But once his matches start, I just kind of am not that excited about his matches. So
I understand the feeling. I do.
That's kind of the way I feel about him. Jeff Cobb.
Another person I really struggled with, honestly. I kept playing around with where to put him. This was so difficult. I ended up placing him at 42. I hate that he's in the bottom 10, but the reason is, I've said this last week and the week before, he has not been the same Jeff Cobb as I remember from PWG a few years ago, even just 3 years ago. And a lot of people other than me, like my friend Anthony, said the same thing the other day, and I was surprised to hear somebody other than me think this, that they think that his matches have been sloppy a little bit and that he's slower than usual. It's almost like he's holding back. It's not the same Jeff Cobb in this G1. I mean, he's had decent matches. It's just not the caliber. I remember when he was tagging with Riddle. I remember when he was having singles matches in PWG. It's just not the same. So for that reason, he's kind of not anywhere near my top ones. He's at 42.
I get that, but I'm still a huge Jeff Cobb fan. From seeing him in person at PWG to actually talking to him at the WrestleCon Super Show here in town, and what a nice guy he was. And I just love everything he does. And, I get your point that he doesn't look the same as he did in PWG. Neither does Brian Cage.
I'm saying the performance isn't the same, not just the look.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think he's really good. So I put him in my top 30 at 29. AJ Styles.
I struggle with this too, because originally, if you asked me this last year, he might be 3, 5. He's 10. He still made the top 10, but he's not in my top 5 right now. I love him. I'm not as fine-tuned to what he's doing right now. One of the great wrestlers in the world, though. One of the greatest.
I put him at number 4. And this is...
So far, who are your highest ones that you've read?
Omega, Styles, and Ibushi.
At what?
3, 4, and 6.
Okay.
So, with AJ, too, it's going back to his great matches in TNA, his great matches in Japan. What he's done in WWE has been awesome. So I don't see any slippage with him, and so that's why he's still in my top 5.
I mean, I don't think slippage in terms of performance. I'm just not invested in him as much as a person I like.
Well, that's because you hate WWE.
I don't hate it, but I don't like it as much as other promotions. So maybe that has a play in things. I don't know.
Who is your highest WWE person? Have we gotten to your highest WWE? Oh,
I'd have to look.
No, we haven't, because I just looked at your list accidentally. So
what? You're not supposed to do that.
All right, Jon Moxley.
37. Wow. Not higher because he's on a hot streak right now. He's great, but he's not a personal favorite. He actually used to be, if you guys want a tidbit about me, I used to like Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, quite a bit. When I first got into wrestling, he might have been my favorite wrestler when I first got in as a casual fan, really. He was my new favorite. Of course, I had legends that were favorites over him, but in terms of current wrestlers at the very time, it was him. But yeah, now he's gone further back for me. But he's doing great right now in the G1. His personality's on fire. I do think he's wonderful. His
reinvention, I always liked him as Ambrose anyways. He probably, even as Ambrose, even in the time towards the end where it wasn't as good, he probably still would have cracked my top 50. But now he's back to what I love about him, what I said, a year and a half ago or whatever, that I would love to see him go against Suzuki, because this is the wrestler that I love. And so, number 17 for me.
Oh, that's pretty high, yeah. I'm not that far off from you, just 20 places off. So then we go to Juice. Here's kind of like the big thing. Everyone's going to wonder where I put Juice. Where do you put Juice? Let's go for you first.
I put him at 35.
Not that far off from where I put him, I guess.
No, again, the whole B+ thing, there's nothing wrong with being B+.
I don't think he's a B+.
And you don't even think he's B+. So.
I think he's in my top 20, and he's there at number 20.
Okay, fair enough. Matt Taven.
Yeah, you go first.
I put him in the top 20. I put him at 18.
That's surprising to me.
I like him a lot. I like his work on the mic, his personality. Doesn't hurt that he's a Boston guy. So
biased.
All of that. I'm putting him at 18, and that's probably the one, or one of the ones that I'll probably get the most heat on, because I know not everybody likes Matt Taven, but
he's number 36 for me. And that sounds like, oh, man, you didn't even put him in your top 20, and you like Ring of Honor, and you've been defending him. I do think he's a great heel champion. There's a lot of people I love, pardon me, ahead of him. But he's ahead of people like to me, he's lower on the list than Ricochet, so I've got him in a better spot than Ricochet. I've got him in a better spot than a lot of people, like Ciampa. I mean, heck, even a better spot than Moxley by 1 point. So to me, I think Taven's a good spot on my list, 36.
All right, then our second to last one today is Lance Archer, and this is somebody, for me, if you had asked this question 3 weeks ago, he may not even be in my top 50. But what he has done in the G1 has been phenomenal. I can't wait to see more of him. I can't wait to hear him talk more. I can't wait to hear him besmirch his opponents in the ring. I put him at 22.
I put him at 19.
Wow.
I really love what he's doing. He had to be in my top 20 for his performance in these last 3 weeks. And because, you mentioned you wouldn't have had him even in your top 50. I would have. Because he was great when he was spraying the water, going into the crowd, terrorizing kids, before he was a singles guy, when he was with KES. So to me, I always liked him. But of course, he technically couldn't have been on our list.
I was just going to say.
Technically,
that would
because
have
we have
disqualified
single
him.
guys. Yeah, but his personality, if we're just going by personality, no matter singles or tag, he would have been on the list. But he's way higher now from these last 3 weeks after the G1. So Lance Archer, 19 for me. And finally, Sami Zayn. We're going to go do the next 25 next week. We'll rank those, but let's go Sami Zayn.
You're going to be disappointed in my ranking
Of course
him.
I am.
Even though I like Sammy a lot, 43.
God, you're pathetic. I can't stand this. This is the worst. I hate this.
Yeah. I bet you do.
I do.
Especially when we see where you ranked him.
I ranked him at number 3. He's amazing. His personality's awesome. His entrance is awesome. He could play heel or face. Of course, I like him way better as a baby face. He's such a pure, wonderful baby face. His wrestling ability is amazing. Look back at the Nakamura match, one of my favorite matches of all time. I've watched that match 20 times. I love that match, that NXT TakeOver match. He doesn't get the chance to shine as much as he should. You look back at his El Generico stuff, gold. Anything he's done is gold. His work with Kevin Owens, gold. Against Kevin Owens, gold. I just love Sami Zayn. His place on the card, I'm very disappointed. Never had a singles title, really. Disappointed. It's not his fault. He's still a favorite. It's not his fault the way he's been booked, so it's a bummer. But he's number 3. I wish he was booked like he was number 3 in people's hearts in WWE.
Do love Sammy, but currently not deserving of number 3 for me.
Whatever. Ricochet is over Sami Zayn.
Yes.
I cannot stand that.
Yes. Well,
Sad.
Tough. So our second...
I'm sure lots of people agree with you, though.
Our
It's
second
fine.
25 will come next week, and then we will review our top 10 again and hear some of your comments of your top 5.
The funny thing is, you're berating me for not liking WWE, but here are WWE guys in my top 3.
That is true.
There you go.
Yeah.
So...
I bet he's your only one in the top 10. Well, AJ, you said was 10, I think.
Yeah, AJ is 10, so that's 2 WWE guys in the top 10. For me, that's pretty darn good,
Actually,
I'd
I may
say.
only have 2 or 3 at the most. I don't have
Really?
to... Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
WWE guys?
I thought you already named, like, a couple that were in the top 10. You had named, what, 3, 6, and... 3, 4, and 6 or something?
Yeah, but AJ...
Kenny Omega was 4 or 3.
Right. He was 4. Or no, he was 3. AJ was 4. So, but in the top 10, AJ and Ricochet, I think, are my only top WWE guys.
So he's saying AJ and Ricochet are his only top 10 WWE guys so far. We still have a whole nother 25 wrestlers to go into next week. What do you guys think of our list? I'm sure you're all going to hate on my list. That's fine. My rankings, you'll hate on them. That's fine. Everyone is entitled to agree to disagree, as we always say. It's always okay.
Now it's time to close out the show, and you wanted to do a tweet of the week, and I'll kind of respond from there.
I do want to do a tweet of the week, but I also want to say these 50 episodes have been great. Thanks for co-hosting them with me. We've done a lot of a lot of things that I'm proud of.
Yeah. No.
So I really appreciate us doing the show, you sticking with me. But I will say, I mean, if I had to pick a favorite thing we've done, I don't even know. I mean, our Colt Cabana interview was pretty great. Our Space Slam, even though that might have been before Wrestling Inc., but the Space Jam thing was pretty good. Our Halloween episodes where we do Halloween stuff. Any favorite things we've done?
The interview with Beer City Bruiser, I think, was one of my favorite things that we've done because it was such a great interview.
I mean, I really love our Young Bucks special a lot. I think that was really comprehensive, really researched. Like, the research we did in that was insane. Again, I mean, our interview with Mark Blutman, I think, was pretty good. We did that in a 3-part series, so a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep. And we'll see if we have 50 more in us.
I hope so.
Yeah, I would hope.
So now to the tweet of the week. So it's from Beer City Bruiser, who we were just talking about, and I ranked him pretty darn high in my top 25. I love him. So, Beer City Bruiser, he says, getting ready to say goodbye to a great man. To some, he was a mentor, others a father figure. To most, he was the boss. To everyone, he was a legend. Today, we say goodbye to the greatest wrestler on God's green earth. Goodbye, Harley. Rest in peace. We love you. Thought it was a very heartfelt goodbye, really sweet message. And of course, Harley Race was Beer City Bruiser's trainer, so they were very close. Yep, beautiful send-off by Beer City Bruiser, and WWE put together a great video package. If you haven't seen it, they aired it on Raw and SmackDown. Really captured what Harley Race was all about, and I, of course, got to see him wrestle on TV in my early parts of watching wrestling, so yet another legend that we have to say goodbye to, but he's definitely made an impact on the business. Really has. Sad to see him pass away, but really nice to see he's so beloved. Yep. But that's it for us this time. Until next time, that's the finish.